With the first 3 episodes of Arcane Season 2 dropping tomorrow, here's a quick reminder of where we left it at the end of Season 1.
Hi.
Probably the biggest character in Season 1 for both screen time and character progression, it feels only right that I talk about Jinx first. In the last scenes of Season 1, we see Jinx both angered and distressed, having just accidentally killed her father, and actually could argue she's done before. We then see her still tied up Vi trying to comfort her sister, but Jinx realises that they've both changed too much and ignores her, walking off towards her launcher. With her father's words repeating in her head, and the Piltover Council marked as her target, we see Jinx launch her Hextech powered rocket into the sky.
We'll show them. We will show them all.
Earlier on in Season 1, we see Vi and Caitlyn build up a serious connection with one another. The Lady and the Tramp style chemistry really fueling that will they won't they vibe. At the end of the season, we see this unlikely team in trouble. Caitlyn is knocked out, and a tied up Vi is unable to convince her sister to stop what she has planned. Eventually we see a freed Vi and an awake Caitlyn supporting one another, but it's too late. All they can do is look upon the night sky as Jinx's rocket flies off towards its target. The fallout of the explosion will no doubt test Vi and Caitlyn's relationship in Season 2. Throughout Season 1, we see many characters incredibly gifted at science and inventing, so it only makes sense that at the end of the season, we would see 2 of them team up. Towards the end of Season 1, we see the showdown between Echo and Jinx, a fight that almost kills the pair. Echo escapes, but his leg and hoverboard are seriously damaged. Luckily, Heimerdinger, who is no longer a counsellor, finds him. Heimer had originally ventured into Zorn to offer his assistance to those that needed it. We see the pair immediately spark up a friendship, both sharing the same views and interests. We leave with both of them being back at Echo's Firelight base, both deep in discussion with one another.
I understand now.
In Season 1, we saw not only the progression of Victor's character, but also the progress and improvements he makes upon himself. But after causing the death of his assistant, we see a Victor standing on a ledge, considering to jump. Luckily, he is interrupted by Jace, similar to how Victor had interrupted him many years ago. Jace promises to help Victor destroy the Hex Core, if in return Victor supports his peace treaty with Zorn. But during this vote for peace, Jinx's rocket hits the council room. We will hope to find out in Season 2 if Jace's promise is kept, and what will happen to Victor if it doesn't.
Him. The golden boy.
After the raid on the Shimmer Factory, we see a Jace shocked by the violence of his actions. Having caused the death of a child with his own hands, he seeks out Silco and discusses a way to end the bloodshed. With Mel being the only council member allowed to support his pursuit of peace, he seeks out Victor. Finding his friend in the nick of time, he interrupts Victor from stepping off the ledge. We see the pair reconcile over past memories, and Victor agrees to support Jace's peace with Zorn. In the last scene of the season, we see Jace, Mel and Victor manage to convince the council to agree to the peace treaty. Jace manages to share a smile with Mel, but seconds later the glass directly behind Mel shatters and Jinx's rocket enters the council chamber. With Jinx's declaration of war, we will have to see if the Man of Progress picks up his hammer once more in Season 2. Towards the end of Season 1 of Arcane, we see Mel finally stand up to her mother, the warlord Ambessa, confronting her about her manipulation of Jace and her support of the war. Mel refuses her mother's request to let the war continue. She takes off her family ring and votes in support of peace with Zorn. But just as the vote ends in agreement of peace, we see Jinx's rocket crash through the window directly behind Mel. We'll have to wait until tomorrow to be sure, but we can only assume that this causes the death or serious injury of Mel. Whichever the outcome, we can be certain that we will be seeing Ambessa in action in Season 2, hopefully outside the bathhouse this time. Throughout Season 1 of Arcane, we watch as first Vander and then Silco become father figures to Jinx, only for her actions to then be the very cause of their death. Silco's end is in the form of red hot lead straight from Jinx's own minigun, Jinx mistakenly shooting him whilst having a mental episode. A touching end, we see that even after everything, he still loves Jinx. Before he falls into his endless sleep, he tells his daughter that he never would have given her up to Piltover and that she's perfect, which is what Jinx only ever wanted. Sorry for that. The chem fumes got me. Anyway, Vander on the other hand, we last saw him pretty early on in Season 1, sacrificing himself to save Vi from the exploding wreckage, again caused by Jinx. We're left presuming he's dead for the rest of the season, until one of the very last scenes where we see Singed in his workshop looking up at one of his creations, a very furry, clawed looking creation. I think it's safe to say we can expect to see the Hound of the Underground return in Season 2.
It will only get worse.
If you think about it, Arcane would be a pretty boring show if Singe wasn't around. He's had his shimmer-stained fingers in a lot of pies, influencing pretty much every character in Arcane. And it doesn't look like this is going to change in Season 2 either. The last we see of him, he's looking up at what seems to be a very furry and very clawed creation. Warwick.
Actually, if you look closer, you'll see him looking at a locket as well. The pictures look very similar to another League of Legends champion.
Sorry about that. Whatever Singe is up to, I'm sure we can expect him to have a major role in Arcane Season 2.